Welcome to the fourth episode of Season 2 of Full Throttle, the Presidio Group's automotive industry podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stein, Director of Multimedia and Events at Presidio. On a regular basis, Full Throttle serves as the industry's meeting point for great conversations with leaders across the automotive world.
I am constantly talking about, when domestics are up, imports might be down. When imports are up, domestics might be down. So why would you just have all your eggs in one basket? And I know it's easier said than done, but going out and portfolio management, looking at how do I strategically build a group where I'm not beholden to a manufacturer, a CEO, a decision that is being made. If that one's down, I'm going to go focus on something else.
If there's one subject sure to spark intense interest, if not conversation, it is succession. It brings as much opportunity as discussion within the industry. And at this point in the retail cycle, it's also likely to elicit differing opinions. How to set up succession efforts, what to avoid, what to lean into. The questions are numerous and as ever-changing as the auto retail industry. Talent, management, change dynamics, and perhaps even technology are all essential ingredients dealers should focus on as they navigate the next stage in their own businesses. But just as important are issues such as portfolio management, as well as diversification. Today on Full Throttle, we lean into succession with one of the experts in the field. Champ Rawls is partner and succession advisor at the Rawls Group, where he's been a member since 2012. He was born into the role, literally. With a background in finance and a personal understanding of family dynamics, Champ is proficient in financial planning as well as retail dynamics. Today, he gives us his perspective on auto retail planning, advice on investing, and issues that some might not talk about as they consider succession. It's the Rawls Group today on Full Throttle.
Hi, this is Champ Rawls. This is Presidio's podcast, Full Throttle.
Well, it's great to be with you again, Champ. Thank you for being on the program. I know we've been together to discuss these issues, but it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about it.
Let's give the state of the industry right now from your perspective. I'm always intrigued. You see things that maybe some people don't see, I think, ahead of time. And we talked about this a year ago, but give me your macro view on where the world is, Champ.
It is super interesting right now, I think, in a post-COVID world to figure out what the new state of the industry is. I mean, I think everybody in 2021, 2022 were riding so high, could do no wrong. And you get into 2023, you started seeing some of the headwinds come in. And 2024, January, February has been, the best way, brutal is an easy way, maybe a good way to say it, but it's been super interesting in regards to the temperament of the dealers that we work with in regards to beginning to question what they're doing, beginning to question, what is my future? Where am I going? What am I doing? And so it's just living through this post-COVID, the high, and now going into, if you want to call it the valley. From our perspective, it's really helping these guys and girls and dealers understand that this is a long game. And if you're not in it for the long game, put it up. I mean, the values for these things are still so high, and it's not gonna get easier. And so it's really, state of the business. I think it's in a pondering state right now. It's in a what's my next step? And I know personally, we've got several of our clients who are going, I want to build and buy to sell. And from a succession standpoint, they're going, I don't want this for my kids. Let somebody else figure it out. So, the state of the business is pondering. It's in a questionable state right now.
Boy, it's changed fast, hasn't it? I mean, we talked a year ago at Presidio's retail conference, and I think your messaging was different then. Well, of course, we had this normalization period, but to hear you describe it the way it is now, it's now flipped again.
Yes.
So
And I
as
go
yeah,
ahead.
go.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's flipped again, and I think in 6 months it'll flip again.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting I was with a fourth generation dealer a couple weeks ago, in his late 60s, who has done this obviously for 75 years, and was in a sense panic mode. And I just said, stop. It's look what, you've gone through this, COVID, Great Depression, 6 months, a year, everything is going to be different than it was yesterday. So take a deep breath and let's move forward. And I think that's what's going to continue to happen.
How have you adjusted how you approach succession with your clients now?
Um, I don't know if there is an adjustment. I think we approach it the same way. It is, what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? And um, you know, from a succession planner standpoint, I'm a goal-oriented person. I think this business is very goal-oriented. You have a month end all the time. You get to manage yourself and measure yourself on a year basis. And I think for our perspective, it hasn't changed from taking a much bigger look at the situation and going, what are our goals? And from a succession planning standpoint, um, there's many different outcomes that you can achieve, and it's just what's the most important one? How do we go attack it? And um, I think from um, a change perspective in succession planning, I think the um, word sale has come up a lot more than normal. And I think it is not a scary word for us. I mean, obviously, succession, is the next generation of owners and leaders, but we've had several of our clients have a succession goal of selling their current platform to go buy a new one because their goal, they didn't like what they had. So I think it's just broadened what's out there, and um, the looking at the total picture and the goal, I think has made succession for ours, for me, having to look at a lot more opportunities and a lot more outcomes.
What do most folks underestimate or maybe focus on in a wrong way? I'll say it that bluntly when it comes to succession, Champ.
People. Um, I think this business is you can make a lot of money, you can be very successful, um, you can grow very big, you can have a lot of rooftops, you can do many things. But the thing that I see the most often is the downfall is people. It is bench strength. It is quality humans who know what they're doing, who have your best interest, which is hard. This is a I mean, this is a self-serving kind of industry. Um, but management, people, talent, I think is where I see the biggest, the strongest dealers have it and they're working on it. The ones who I see where I can just look at it and go, this is a great family, this is a great situation, but this isn't going to last. They don't have the people.
Yeah, that you can talk about facilities and you can talk about brands and even location, but
Okay,
the
yeah,
in people, right?
yeah. I mean, I cannot um say it enough. I mean, it is literally the thing from um I have a group, second or third generation. The dealer, he's got 12 stores, all the brands. It's amazing. He's got 5 children. He's got two involved. Um, and he just basically is like, I've grown this thing too big. And I don't it's too big for my family, and I don't have the ongoing people. And he's it's a great thing, but he's like, this isn't a legacy anymore. I'm gonna be good. And that right there is people. It's bench strength, it's the middle, it is if he had the people, he had the confidence, it would continue on.
Hmm.
Uh, and essentially it'll become somebody else's problem.
Right. Right. Family dynamics and governance is oftentimes disregarded in discussions of succession. How do you handle that?
Uh Literally go right at it. I think
Just
it
attack
is
it.
the attack it. And I it is honestly, I think the differentiator for us and me in a sense that it's hard. It is very hard because um you are dealing with emotions, you're dealing with entitlements, you're dealing with a lot of different factors that, frankly, I can get blown out when I have to say the things that I say. And but if I'm not being honest and I'm not coming to the table and delivering our brand promise, which is to tell the truth, then what am I doing? So family dynamics and family governance is scary and it can hurt a lot of feelings, but it can also blow things apart if not dealt with. And I'm sure, a lot of people have read a lot of magazines and newspapers about very successful businesses that have been blown apart by not dealing with family dynamics.
You also take on communication issues directly, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the communication standpoint, going back to what I think is so important, people, it's also about communicating with people. And generally, um, communication in families is not good. When it comes to business, when it comes to money, when it comes to things that I want to keep mine. And so the strategies, the governance, the facility, and that's maybe the biggest word I can say, facilitating communication. It sounds so weird, kind of, but it's the most important thing in a sense when people are not naturally good communicators.
Hmm. Yeah. You probably see that more than you care to see it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's I guess I would hate to say it, but it's one of the reasons that I've got a job because it's
Right.
um, not natural. And so helping people do it is, something that, uh, is a skill set of ours.
Yeah. You talk about building your best group as you think about succession. And I know there are some key metrics and considerations that a dealer should think about as they strategically plan for the future. Let's go through a few of those. What are some, I would say, metrics or thoughts around the business and portfolio management that a dealer needs to be thinking about?
Ooh, I love this conversation. Diversification. I am constantly talking about, when domestics are up, imports might be down. When imports are up, domestics might be down. So why would you just have all your eggs in one basket? And I know it's easier said than done, but going out and portfolio management, looking at how do I strategically build a group where I'm not beholden to a manufacturer, a CEO, a decision that is being made. If that one's down, I'm going to go focus on something else. Um, Trucks, cars, all those different luxuries, non-luxuries. I think that's what intrigues me. Metrics. I don't know if it's so much metrics in regards to building a group. I would say it's more in what are you looking to own? And when I say own, it's not a car dealership. I'm saying it's a community. So I think that's where strategically my mind starts just going, how do I create a brand? How do I diversify what I own? And how do I um, create the brand in the community that is stronger than anybody else? And those are the metrics that I look at. I look at those, you can see those dealer groups out there who have a strategic plan and are going for it. And strategically planning for the future, I think, is the one of the most important things a dealer can do to try and grow and be sustainable.
And Champ, it goes back to what you said at the outset here. You mitigate the downside of that next business cycle, don't you?
Yeah, and uh, it's dealer proofing the economy is
Yeah.
a concept. It's riding the storm of a presidential cycle, economics, a brand, and I think those are the um exciting type of thought-provoking encounters for people to go through, because if you're just a 1 point, I mean, I'm just 1 point, stores and these little, I don't see how that works unless you are just grinding out to be the number one. um I just don't see it. It's a struggle.
Yeah. Final thing, Champ. Dealers who had a great run during the COVID cycle, post-COVID cycle, and who are sitting on a lot of cash, what should they consider as they look at future investments?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people are going to be looking in and out of the business right now. So I'm a big fan of keeping dry powder to go diversify your group, go do things, go build. I think the what a manufacturer would want me to say is to go invest in your facilities, um, go invest in yourself. Um, I don't Facilities to me are very interesting things of the future. I just don't know these mega list stores. I don't know how what that investment into it is the ROI. So I'm more into either going in acquiring new things or acquiring people. So if you want to talk, if we go back and go investing in talent, that's where I would be looking if I had dry powder. It would be, how do I not only invest in the people who are going to be a part of my success, and then lock them in, is, if you want to talk about the next 10, 15, 20 years, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Amazing. You live in a complicated world, Champ, and I know everybody's turning to you and your firm to try to figure out how to navigate what you described it well, the brutal state of where we are right now. Any closing thoughts?
Stay positive. It's I think it is the
And it's going to change in 6 months.
it is going. I mean, I think it, for me, it really is, the closing thoughts are, I think we've been so segmented into post-COVID land of 21, 22, 23. Now we're into 24, and it needs to get more into a broader perspective of, okay, what can I do in the next 5 years? Because if and that's what I see. It's, if we live in the cycles that we have grown into in the last 4 years, that makes things really difficult. I mean, mentally tiring. And being able to just, tomorrow's gonna be a new day. 6 months is gonna be something different. How do I just stay steady and stable, um, and stay positive?
Yeah, stay positive. That's a great way to end this. Champ, thanks so much for being on the program. Appreciate your words of wisdom and forward-looking statements. I think everybody should heed the last 18 minutes of this show and think about their own businesses.
Thank you.
Thanks, Champ. Thanks again to my guest today on the program, Champ Rawls, partner and succession advisor at the Rawls Group. And thanks for listening to Full Throttle. Come back later in the month for our next interview on this platform. Email me with suggestions, jstein@thepresidiogroup.com, or go to the website, thepresidiogroup.com. Follow us as well on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening to the program. We'll see you next time.